to another episode of the Moving Markets Podcast. Today is March the 18th. It is Monday. The U.S. stock market has been closed for almost an hour as we're starting this podcast today. A little bit to talk about specifically with the NVIDIA conference that's going on, some of the stock market movement during the day. Not an overly eventful day. The NASDAQ had a nice rally. The Dow Jones Industrial Average finished in positive territory. But this week, everything for the second half of the week is going to hinge on not what the Fed does, but what Jerome Powell says when he speaks on Wednesday. So this might be a little bit of a shorter podcast because there's just not a huge amount going on right now, but it's going to change towards the end of the week. I think Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, we're going to have a lot to talk about. Take a minute and check us out at sostrades.com. We're just still totally crushing it as far as our results go for the start of this year. A couple of trading weeks this week and next for the month of March, and we're almost at a 38% return already. We're going to add on to that with new trades this week and next, and things are looking absolutely fantastic. You need to check out and see if there's anything at sostrades.com that has an appeal to you for something that you'd be interested in, different ways to participate with our program. Take a minute to like us, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, whatever you can do to help us get word out there more. And once again, thank you for tuning in today. I would say today was not a bad day at all in the stock market. Certainly, if you want the markets to be bullish and the three major indexes finish to the upside, then of course you've got to call it a good day. I don't think it was a spectacular day, especially in light of where things were at one point in the day. The markets started off a little bit hotter than where they ended up finishing, all three of these indexes. The Dow Jones Industrial Average kind of took off out of the gate this morning and started gaining some momentum, got up to where it was in the neighborhood of, I think, 160, 170 points to the upside. But in the closing 15 minutes of trading, it really took a nosedive and then managed to come back up to give us that 75-point finish. I was not watching every single solitary tick of the market today, so I don't know why it slid so much, but at least it did manage to come back up. It got down around 75 one other time during the day today, but that was just before it went up and touched, I think, near its high of the session. So a good solid day on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Again, nothing spectacular, nothing to necessarily write home about. A lot of today's movement came with Apple and Google and the announcement that Apple is going to use Google's Gemini AI product in their iPhones. If you remember, Gemini a few weeks ago got off to a really, really rough start where it was obvious that the algorithms for Gemini had been built with some very woke, left-leaning, ridiculous, progressive stuff. People were doing searches for Nazi, asking something like, show me pictures of a typical Nazi soldier during the 1940s. And they were coming up with pictures of people that were African American or Latino or Hispanic in ethnic origin, which Nazis represented the very opposite of anything other than white people. So also, some of our founding fathers, other things like that. It was really, really nonsensical. A female pope when you tried to do searches like that. So Gemini got off to a rough start. Google, of course, came out and claimed that nothing was done intentionally, but they do need to do a better job, which is a complete load of BS. Google, the middle to upper management of that company, probably most of the people in that company, are hardcore leftists. They are people who want an incredibly progressive agenda. There's all sorts of reports of people that couldn't keep their job at Google because they were not in marching line with the company's politics. So for Google to say it was an accident or it wasn't supposed to be like that is absolute total BS. It's window dressing. They don't have any intention of changing it other than to change some of the appearance of it so that they don't look like they're that blatantly political. But anyway, they had a rocky start with that. But the announcement today that Apple was going to incorporate that program, that Gemini program, really caused Apple to have a nice move to the upside. And remember, Apple's been beat up. Now, when I say nice move to the upside, they were up a lot higher than this earlier in the day. I think I'm just kind of realizing right now that Apple took a nosedive. They were up earlier in the day quite nicely and then sort of slid and then had that sort of bottoming out in that last 10 or 15 minutes that the markets were open. There's a little bit of pre-market movement to the downside or after-market movement to the downside as well. But at one point in time today, I believe Apple was up, well, at least a lot higher than this. So they took a little bit of slide, a little bit of hit at the end of the day. I don't know whether or not this is the reason for it, but Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, who's just been arguably one of the best CEOs in the world over the last 4 or 5 years in terms of what he's managed to accomplish there at NVIDIA. He spoke at NVIDIA's own tech conference today, and I did not get to hear his comments, but I can only guess that they weren't as spectacular as people wanted. They didn't do as much as what people were hopeful for, because the reality is NVIDIA at one point in time today was up, I believe, over $40 a share, and NVIDIA tailed off to have a respectable but somewhat tepid day. And in after hours trading, they're down almost 2%. So this is nothing more than maybe an indication of what could happen tomorrow. It's never a guarantee. There could be things happen overnight or first thing in the morning that could cause NVIDIA to be up dramatically tomorrow. I'm not overly worried about NVIDIA. I still think they're a good company to own. I think they're a good long-term bet. They may have some bumps in the road and some ups and downs, but I think it's a phenomenal company to be a part of. We'll see what tomorrow brings. They gave up, again, this is the one-day intraday chart. They were as high as, well, it's kind of hiding behind that little plot thing there. That's annoying. I cannot even tell you how annoying that is. There we go. I got rid of it. However I did that, I don't know. But there you go. There, I can't get it to zoom in. There you go. Their high of the day was 924. So they're a good $40 almost off their high of the day. And like Apple and like the indexes overall, they really took a kind of a steep dive in that last 30 to 15 minutes of trading. Actually, that's the aftermarket trading. I guess they took their biggest dive around 3:15 Eastern time and then managed to come back up and finish on a decent note. So anyway, NVIDIA probably had a lot to do with all of the indexes selling off a little bit later in the day and not being nearly as robust as they were early in the trading. But still, all in all, a good day for the market. Nothing to balk over. This week, all of the news, all of the focus is going to be on the FOMC announcement at noon. 2 p.m. Eastern, noon my time. I'm Mountain Time, so noon my time on Wednesday, and then Jerome Powell's press conference afterwards. This is going to set the tone for the second half of the week. Tomorrow, the housing starts and permits could obviously move things a little bit up or down. People are a little bit nervous about the housing market. It's been a suppressed market for a little while. Interest rates have been high. That's made it a struggle to sell homes. But housing starts and permits might be a bright spot in all of that, because there is still a really high demand. Where the demand is not being met and fulfilled is there aren't enough people willing to sell their homes and move into other homes because it's just not a good deal. If you're sitting on 7 or 8 years left on a 30-year mortgage that's at 2.5% or 2.7%, the idea of selling your house and upgrading into something more expensive is not nearly as appealing when you got to pay a 7% interest rate. That just doesn't work out. So it's people in my generation, in their maybe late 40s to early 60s, maybe mid 60s, that have been in homes for a number of years but simply don't want to sell because it's not favorable conditions to do that. So housing starts and permits could be a bright number that could move markets up a little bit, but if it's a really ugly bad number, it could move things down a little bit. There's not going to be unless there's unexpected news, and that can always happen on the geopolitical front, there's probably not going to be a huge amount to talk about tomorrow. Wednesday is going to be the big day. I think Wednesday and Thursday we'll have a lot more to speak about. So I'm going to wrap up right there for the day. Make sure you take a minute, if you haven't already. If you're not a current member of Safe Option Strategies, check us out on sostrades.com and see what our programs are about. And otherwise, have a great rest of your Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow afternoon. Thanks. Bye-bye.